Hello, my friends. You're all stuck at home. I'm stuck at home. Everybody is stuck at home, but that doesn't mean we can't have some fun, right? That's what this feature is all about. It's another first five for you, but we wanted to do something that was kind of an answer to the questions and the issue at hand here of how do you keep yourself busy and you and your friends or your family entertained while everybody's inside. While the weather is getting nicer outside. It's a very weird paradox. We are inside and we are in front of television sets, so why not gather people around and play games together? That's what this is all about. It's our first 5 local multiplayer games to play, and we've done something pretty cool here. We've got our first 5 for kind of recent games, but we also did a first 5 for classic games, because some of you might have old consoles sitting in closets that you haven't played for a long time, and some old cartridges kicking around that you might want to pop into a machine and grab some extra controllers and gather people around. The one thing that I do want to say before we get started is we're going to exclude a ton of games here. It's only 5. Well, it's going to be 10, but 5 recent, 5 classic. So that's what the comments are all for. That's what you got to do here is down below. Just look right down there. Just put in all of your suggestions and all of the things that we missed in our list here. Let's get started with our first 5 local multiplayer games that are pretty recent. Starting in at number 5 is Broforce. This was published by Devolver Digital, and it's available for a bunch of different platforms. I play this on the Switch all the time. It's never leaving my Switch. It's a crazy, ridiculous game that knows it's ridiculous. It has all of this cool technology in it where everything busts apart in these little tiny, I guess they're voxels. I don't exactly know if they're voxels, but they blow apart into all of these little cubes, all these little bits. But that's not the hook. What they've done is they've juiced this game with a great sense of humor. It's got a Contra-like kind of insanity and over-the-top quality to it, but you also are able to control all kinds of your favorite heroes. They're parodies, so that's how they get away with it, in terms of copyright and trademark issues. But you'll be able to play a version of Blade and a version of Indiana Jones and Men in Black and the Terminator and, just the list goes on and on. Chuck Norris is in there. Mr. T is in there. They're not Mr. T, though. They're bro-ified versions of all of these characters. So it is hilarious. It's also action-packed, and it's multiplayer, and it's a lot more fun playing it with somebody else. I played it with my daughter, and her eyes lit up right away. I told her, look, there's a lot of blood in this thing, but it's all sort of blocky blood. It's pixelated blood. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's still a little bit violent, so you may not want to put this in front of your kids. I know my kid was ready for it, but she had a lot of fun, and it is ridiculously good time. And the challenge ramps up quite well, too, so don't expect to just breeze through this one. Broforce is awesome, and that's why it's number 5. Number 4 is going to be Overcooked, and that is going to be either 1 or 2. Doesn't matter which one. They're both great games. 2 obviously finessed some of the systems and tweaked things a little bit, gave you a little bit more extra content in there. If you've never played an Overcooked game, I recommend you check out 1 first because it's going to ease you into the game a little bit better. It's all about managing a restaurant and serving your customers, and it doesn't matter what kind of hell you're going through, whether you're dealing with an earthquake or you're flying through the sky for some reason or you're on a train or everything is moving and chaotic and crazy and your customers are temperamental. You have still got to prep the food, cook the food, serve the food, wash the dishes, not catch on fire, not lose customers, and it's stressful as hell. But if you work together with your teammates, you're going to have an incredible time and you'll all be high-fiving and cheering each other on. But there's also the very real possibility that you will be swearing at each other and be very angry at each other. This might ruin some friendships and relationships. Overcooked is ridiculous fun, and it's so well made and so charming, I guarantee you're going to dig it. And number 3 for me is an overhead action RPG. I could have chosen from tons of different games in this category, like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, lots and lots of good games, but I wanted to go with the granddaddy of the genre, really. It's Diablo 3. There's some phenomenal multiplayer experiences in this game. It is a beautiful, gorgeous, sprawling, never-ending, challenging, and addictive experience that everybody on the couch is going to have a good time with. Diablo 3 is sensational fun, and again, it's available for all kinds of platforms, PC, everything. So, obviously it's been around a long time. We're already starting to get hyped up about Diablo 4, but Diablo 3, there's something super compelling about just jumping in and finding all kinds of loot and leveling up and dealing with hordes and hordes of monsters together, leaning on each other to kind of deal with massive challenges that come your way. And it's all so artfully crafted and presented and with such love and attention. And sure, you can quibble about some artistic choices and whether this game adheres to the foundation of this franchise, but push all of that stuff aside, this is crazy, crazy addictive fun. Number 2 is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I could have chosen from a suite of lots of great fighting games. I thought about Injustice 2, I thought about Street Fighter. I mean, fighting games in general are great couch competition titles. They're great to kind of entertain a group of people with, because you can pass controllers around and have little tournaments and all that stuff. But you don't really even need to do that with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. If you've got a bunch of different controllers for your Switch, you are going to be able to sit down and play with dozens and dozens and dozens of awesome characters, and everybody's going to have a good time with it, even if they can't follow what the hell is happening on screen. There's so much manic activity and so much beauty in the backgrounds and the animations and the power-ups and the, just the zany buffet of awesome video game love that you get in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is worth the ticket price, and it's absolutely worth gathering a bunch of people around and sitting down to play this game. It is phenomenal. And you can play up to 8 people, so if you have a huge family, this might be the only game you ever play. And coming in at number 1 is something you may be able to predict. It was our Rocket and Ray Gun Award winner for the best racing game of the decade. It's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, also for Nintendo Switch. This you can play up to 4 players. There's a battle mode in there that's just a blast, where you're trying to knock out everybody's balloons as you're racing around and collecting power-ups. There's all the Grand Prix and the single races that you can play against other people. It runs beautifully. It looks amazing on a television set, or if you want to give up the TV and play it, in handheld mode or on a table with a bunch of Joy-Cons passed around between people, you're going to have a great time in this. And of course, all of that DLC that Nintendo added to this content, likely most of you have picked that up. You're going to have so many great Nintendo characters outside of the Mario universe that people are going to light up to see, like the Animal Crossing characters and Link, and the Splatoon characters. This is a phenomenal game that gives and gives and gives, and there's just thousands of hours of entertainment in this title. And the better you get, the more it gives, and there's all the unlockable stuff too. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is absolutely something I would heartily recommend for you to play with your friends or your family. That's why it's number 1. All right, now let's move on to our classic first 5. These are games that you're going to have to dig up a system to play them on, and you're going to have to find these cartridges. They're great games, and again, there are tons of classic games that are really fun in multiplayer. I'm going to start with number 5, and I'm going to give that to Goldeneye 007. This is a crazy game to play in 2020. I played this with my daughter and my wife, and it's very hard to control if you haven't played the game in a long time, as you're going to see in some of this footage. My daughter had never seen it before. She's like, what is this? She had no idea, but she was starting to have a really good time. It was freaking her out that we were finding her and scaring her a little bit. But you get sucked in right away, and so we were jumping and screaming and high-fiving, and I taught my daughter how to maneuver and weave her way through corridors, and baby got her first headshot. And I was so proud. She's 8 years old, which was totally wrong and weird. It's so dated and crazy looking, and it's a little bit sluggish and choppy. You feel a little bit seasick when you're playing the game, but the core elements of the game are timeless and so much fun, and that James Bond music and the Goldeneye characters that you get to play and all the other characters that you can unlock in this cartridge, it is phenomenal. All of the different, murky levels are also imaginatively and ingeniously crafted, and the secrets that this game kind of gives up and all the nooks and crannies that you can search through to get the best angle to take out opponents in there, just wonderful. And the better that you are at playing this game, the more fun that it is. This is one that if you stick with it and you learn its intricacies and you have a bunch of people that you play with, you are going to have a blast. And it, even though it's ridiculously dated, and you're going to probably need some kind of external piece of hardware to hook up your N64 to a flat screen TV, it's a trip when you do, because if you've got it already, you know how great this game is. GoldenEye 007 is awesome, and that's why it's number 5. Number 4 is the NBA Street franchise. I think 2 is the best. 3 is tuned a little bit, but I don't know, 2 had Michael Jordan and the Legends. I also love Home Court, which has this kind of sepia tone to it. I played them all. I think they really nailed it with NBA Street Volume 2, honestly. It is an amazing game that's totally stood the test of time. It's almost 20 years old now, which is just insane, but you get a whole suite of classic NBA players in there, lots of great parks, and that holds true with every iteration of NBA Street. That's why it was pretty hard for me to pick just one. And it really doesn't matter which one you play. They're just fantastic. Obviously, they're riffing on the 2D play of NBA Jam. You could go in and out of the plane a little bit, but you couldn't really move around the court like you can in the NBA Street games. Really tuned, really polished, crazy fun, awesome stunts, and crazy tricks, and lots of unlockable content across all of these games. If I had to pick one, if you twisted my arm, it would be Volume 2, though. That was incredibly special. I checked it out on the PlayStation 2, but there's also a GameCube version of the game and an original Xbox version of the game. It is wonderful, and I really hope that one day EA wakes up and brings back NBA Street.
Up by uno! It's a close one!
Number 3 is Streets of Rage 2, which you're going to need a Sega Genesis for. This was published and developed by Sega with incredible music. It's an amazing cooperative experience. It's so fast and so fluid, really hard to reconcile that it moves and plays as well as it does on such creaky architecture. It's been around for so long. I mean, I think it's like 26 years old. It's so old, but it plays perfectly still today. Again, I played this with my kid. You know, she's starting to play a lot of Switch games and lots of other titles right now, but this is a game that she and I can play and have a blast with. She gets totally sucked into the idea of being Blaze and beating up all of these goons that are trying to take her out. This is also the kind of game where in the middle of combat, you're punching and beating up all of these bad guys. Somebody is going to yell out, "You get that turkey! It's your turkey! Go get that turkey." You got to go and smash a sign or something like that, or a trash can, and there'll be a turkey, a floating turkey there. But you'll say that, and it will be unironic. You will just say that out loud. Go get that turkey. You can have that turkey. It's yours. You just get caught up in it. It's a game that's just pumping with life and vitality and a sense of fun, and it's egging you on. You just want to get to the next stage and the next. It's really hard to walk away from. It is a phenomenal cooperative game. Although you can also beat up each other in the middle of a fight, and that can also turn ugly. Be on the lookout for that. But Streets of Rage 2, oh my god, incredible game. Now, number 2 is something that I think a lot of Canadians are going to cheer about. A lot of people that are watching this may be wearing plaid just like I am right now. It's the NHL series on the Sega Genesis. It was also out in the SNES. And this is the 16-bit developed by EA Vancouver, EA Canada. They did an amazing job with the launch version of NHL, which came out on the Sega Genesis. And then they kept iterating it and tweaking it. Had blood for a while, they took blood out. Had fights for a while, they took fights out. It doesn't matter which one you play. I mean, certainly they've been tuned and tweaked, and the one-timers work better, and there's little bits of embellishment. I popped in NHL 95 and was immediately glowing, was immediately charmed and entertained by the speed of the game and the fun of the game and the accessibility of the game. This was a video game that was so easy to share, and personally, this was a game that I used to live with 6 other people. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and a bunch of friends. We all rented a house together, and we would play NHL together every night because it was so fun. And it didn't matter how much we knew about hockey or who the teams were or any of that stuff. It was just crazy fun to play. It's super fast, and the bumpiness of the players on the ice, and there's a forgiveness that the game sort of offers you as a player. It's so fast and fun and fluid that, you don't need to know the intricacies of the sport to just be entertained by it. And honestly, it was so ahead of its time that it's taken EA a long time to kind of match that adoration for this franchise. They've definitely gone in a different direction by trying to create simulation titles, but there's something so pure and so fundamental and so wonderfully shareable about playing classic NHL games on a Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo. And some of them allowed you to multi-tap and have a bunch of players play at the same time. So good luck finding all the controllers and the multi-tap and the people to do that. But if you do, it's crazy fun chaos that is worth the time. And number 1 on our list is another brawler, and honestly, it could have gone either way with Streets of Rage 2. In this one, I'm talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. And yes, there's an excellent Turtles game called Hyperstone Heist for the Sega Genesis, which is equally fun and has multiplayer in it as well. I'll review that in a future edition of 16-bit Superheroes. But I have reviewed and talked extensively about Turtles in Time, as many of you 16-bit aficionados have out there. Konami killed it with this game. It's a port of an arcade experience, but it's been embellished, minus the ability to have 4 players. It's 2 this time, and you got to choose which of the 4 turtles you and your buddy are going to be playing. And then when you die, you can press continue. You can choose to be a different turtle, which is a nice addition to the game. Essentially, you're going through a scrolling brawler, and you're taking on all kinds of bad guys, but it's so cleverly done. The idea that you can pick up bad guys and hurl them into the screen is just amazing. There's actually a boss fight with Shredder where you're actually doing that to defeat him. You need to pick up the bad guys and throw them towards the screen, towards you, and you're knocking Shredder out. And it's just so clever that it does that. You also go back in time. That's what the Turtles in Time thing is all about. So you're going to be fighting in the prehistoric times and in pirate times, and everything kind of changes up, and costumes change up, and you can get trampled by dinosaurs and become flat as a pancake. This is a game that is going to make you laugh and smile, and you'll remember it. And it's also an amazing cartridge because it's one that you can replay over and over again. And when a friend is over or a family member is with you and you both enjoy video games and you have a Super Nintendo, I guarantee you can put this on once a month and have a blast with it. I love it, and I suspect many of you Super Nintendo fans out there do too. That's why Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtles in Time is number 1 on our first 5 list. All right, so what I also did is I reached out to my followers on Twitter and I asked every one of them to give me some suggestions for games to play with your family, and I got some great ideas. I'm going to share some of those with you right now. Tiny Mama 13 says, Wii Sports is fun to play with others, and any dancing game gets you off and up from the couch. Yeah, I would also add Rock Band. I didn't put that in my first 5 local multiplayer thing, but if you've got all those instruments and you've got a console that still plays the old discs, then definitely put all of that together and have some fun, singing and dancing in your living room with your buds. That would be amazing. But Wii Sports is a great suggestion as well. Dragon Quest Builders 2 added some multiplayer, and Seto_Blade recommended that. Fantastic suggestion. Dragon Quest Builders 1 or 2 are amazing games, but the fact that there's multiplayer in 2 is wonderful. Swazer Beam, this is Josue, good to hear from you, buddy. He suggested anything by Media Molecule. All the Little Big Planet games, Little Big Planet Karting is great. That was made by United Front Games. And certainly I know there's going to be a lot of multiplayer options within Dreams. If you haven't picked that up yet, you can probably... There aren't. You can make your own local multiplayer games in that one. But he's also digging Pokemon Sword and Shield and doing raids and battles with his brothers, playing that and Smash. Flippin_A says, my 4-year-old, as a first-time console gamer, really gravitated towards Yoshi's Crafted World as a 2-player experience. Yoshi's Crafted World is a 10 out of 10 scrolling video game. I know it looks cutesy and pastel and so cartoony and so lovable and squishable, but it is an incredibly well-made game. You are going to be blown away by the ingenuity and the cleverness and the tactile quality of the design. It was so phenomenal. My daughter and I played that together. She gave it a 10. I gave it a 10. She still plays the game. It is absolutely outstanding. If you've never checked this one out and you have a Switch, you owe it to yourself, and what better time than self-isolation time? All right, now Birdfly Beard suggests Knack 2. It's an underrated beat-em-up with generous co-op mechanics that make it easy to play with little ones. The Knack games obviously came out for the PlayStation 4. Mark Cerny headed up development on these, or at least consulted and helped to make sure that these things were cool. It was all about little bits and pieces of Knack coming together and giving this character a lot of power. Some pretty cool technology in there, as well as some really accessible and cute little characters. Great suggestion there, Birdfly Beard. Ninty Fan 1991 has a whole bunch of suggestions all around the TT Games Lego series. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, DC, Marvel. They locked it up. If you like anything in sort of pop culture right now, there's a pretty good chance, as Jurassic Park as well, there's a pretty good chance there's a Lego video game based around it. And you know what's crazy about that is most of them are really good. Most of them are really fun. There's definitely mechanics and systems and things that you got to do from one to another that, you know, are kind of a rinse and repeat kind of thing. So, you know, your mileage may vary on how many of these you're going to want to play en masse, but there's no denying there are some incredible Lego video games out there. One of my favorites actually is the Lego Force Awakens video game. That was insanely good. I also love Lego Batman 2, where we got a huge open world, and I love the Lego indie games as well. Jake James Lugo recommends Rayman Legends, and that is a fantastic suggestion. That's come out for every platform. You can play multiplayer in that game. It's a 2D platformer, action-adventure title, crazy characters, lots to unlock, lots of collectibles, lots of challenge. Beautifully, beautifully crafted. Really, really wonderful stuff. Good suggestion there, JJ. Turi3YXBL says Mario Maker, and Mario Maker 2 has multiplayer in it, which is pretty cool. Bird Pace, BRD Pace, suggests Everybody's Golf for the PlayStation 4. This is a terrific golf game. Cutesy, big-headed characters. Got an accessibility to it, but also a lot of challenge. You're learning all kinds of new abilities and awesome shots that you can pull off. Graphics are great, and it's just so chill. It also is, we're in a time right now where we can't really get outside that much, so this is a nice kind of escape through your television set to cartoonified outdoors. Very nice game. Good suggestion. And the last suggestion we got from Twitter was Micah G, who says Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. This is a defense-type game where you play with somebody else. You're in space, and all kinds of things are coming and flying at you and shooting at you, and you've got to shoot them and kill them. Very cool, almost like papercraft-type graphics. It's a beautiful indie game. It was made right here in Canada, and it's a beautiful game that you can play with other people that you are living with. And that's what this whole feature was about today. We wanted to give you guys some ideas of games that you can grab your friends or your family with, sit down on a couch and play together and, share some laughs and have a great time and forget about some of the stresses that are going on in this world today. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. You can hit that subscribe button. Please feel free to share this with whoever you would like. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back soon with some new content. And until then, play forever.